Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
This is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have back by popular demand. We have Carol Mays from West Brookfield.
Hello.
She is the wife of Gary Blanchard, who is our star musician who has created our intro song. He's going to be on in just a few minutes as well. Carol, they're both so talented. She is a poet advocate and she's also an artist. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you.
Carol, what do you want to talk about first? Your book or the ones that you make? What would you like to do first?
Well, I can show these.
Okay, pick one. Let's hold that one up.
These are hardcover versions of this paperback.
Yeah. Right up there so we can see it. And inside are the poems of many people, right?
Yes, a variety of poets, including myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Hold it right up there so we can see the
and
whole.
they're also stories.
And you design that whole. She designs the whole cover. It happens to be Halloween.
This is actually a window screen.
Let me see. Oh, I didn't even notice that. That, for you crafters out there, she used a window screen as the background. What else?
That's over a crushed satin fabric,
Yeah.
so it adds some texture to it.
Yeah.
And then it's little wooden pumpkins that are painted with a gem stuck on there, and then a fabric moon,
Oh,
and then a little orange eye on the witch.
that witch, yeah, she got the witch right in the middle. And then on the back, it looks like, what kind of material is that? Shiny.
That's the same that's on the front. It's that crushed velvet, or crushed satin, I believe it is. Yeah.
Where do you get this ideas? This is great. I wouldn't even think about
Oh, this is like the end result of weeks of experimenting with different designs. These were the only three that worked.
Yeah, I think so. And then when you open it up, Indian Summer. Can you read us a poem from one? We're going to try all
sure.
three of these books here, and this one too. one that you wrote would be really great if you've got one.
Oh, sure. Let's see.
She's even got Edgar Allan Poe in one of them.
I
Perfect.
love Edgar Allan Poe.
Quoth
I
the
could
Raven.
read his poems all day long. This is a magical Halloween pin. And this describes a situation. Gary and I were at a coffee shop in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And there was one of the clerks that was working there had on this huge spider pin.
Yeah.
And it really inspired me for some reason, and so I eventually wrote a poem about it. So this is the poem.
Okay, it's about the spider pin. Okay.
A magical Halloween pin. As Halloween approached, a middle-aged redhead working in a coffee shop boldly wore a spider pin. It had a massive body of ruby-colored glass and was, in subdued lighting, as striking as her smile. In that one adornment of childlike abandon, she loaned me a key to a fluid dimension, a sweet hidden wellspring, expansive when tapped, of all possibilities, where young may be old, and old may be young, where in the mortal struggle against prosaic prudence and tired perspectives, bewitchment can prevail. A phoenix from ashes, in magical resiliency, wondrous, warm, and winking.
You get away with the words. You have a way of having it come across so understandable, but with big words. I love that. I really do.
Well, my process of writing, I think I hope I didn't describe this to you before, but it's a long, involved process.
No, what happens?
It starts out it's just a stream of consciousness. Something will touch me, and I'll want to put it down in writing.
Yeah.
And I have to put it down immediately, or it's gone.
Yeah.
So I write it down immediately. But then the next day, I look at it, and it's like something a 5-year-old would have written. You know, it's very pure, very sweet, but elementary.
Yeah.
So then I have to translate it into adult language.
Right.
So that's another whole process of translating every line, getting the meter right, because I work a lot with meters,
Sure.
finding words that rhyme.
When you say meter, you don't mean the tick, tick, tick thing. You mean the meter of how to do the ode of the poem, that type of thing?
Yeah, it's not the electronic thing, of course, but it's to get the syllables correct, and so it flows.
Yeah.
And then another stage after that is I actually look up every word in the thesaurus to try to get the best possible word in the English language for what I'm trying to express.
This is a process.
So it's a long
It's a heck of
process.
a process.
A lot of poets don't do that. They
No.
they stop with the stream of consciousness and that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I work and work and work on these poems. Some of them decades even. I work on them and then one day, and then sometimes I've worked on it so hard that it loses some of the original spontaneity.
Sure.
So then I have to go back and add life into the poem. But finally, I'll look at it one day and I'll say, it's perfect. I can't get it any better than that.
Yeah. My son writes poetry. I wish he could meet you. And I can't convince him that he's really good. And I guess he learned in school, they don't always have to rhyme. It can be...
Right,
So he's doing it his way, not always rhyming it. Remember haikus?
right.
That was like... How did that do it? Like a few words and then da-da-da?
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly, but there's a specific format
Yeah.
for it.
I remember having to learn all that.
Yeah.
And you probably loved it in school, right?
Well, we only studied poetry for maybe 2 days throughout my
2
entire
days?
education. And it didn't go very well. I didn't particularly care for the teacher.
That can be a problem.
That was not my inspiration.
2 days. I think they eat ours
Yeah.
out for like a couple of months. We had projects. We had to write poems.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, we did. The teacher I didn't like was the sophomore math teacher. Now so I can relate with you. It was just like the coldest individual I'd ever met in my life.
Oh, my goodness.
For the hardest subject. But now, so this one here, I hadn't heard about this one yet. But you wrote this with Carol May's Halloween Enchantment, Haunting Poems and Stories. Did you do this time? Did you choose the?
That's it. That's using a template from CreateSpace.
Okay.
Which is the publisher that I work with, the self-publisher.
Then
Um,
Enchantment.
So you find the photo online somewhere.
Yeah.
And you pay for it, and then you put it into their template.
Is it expensive to pay for the photo? If someone's new author.
It depends on what site you go to.
CreateSpace.
Well, you don't get it through Create. You could get some through CreateSpace, but I don't use theirs. I could find another one.
Sure.
So.
Can you read us a
well,
poem from this one?
Sure.
This one. Now this one she didn't make she basically designed the cover though. You chose it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just that this takes 4 days and this takes
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. That takes a long time.
Right.
Gosh, we're going to show those too. Oh, love 'em. I think my favorite, we're going to show you this, the bat. The bat on the cover. Oh, God, I love that. That's a spooky looking one.
Let me see. So as I say, there's a number of poems in here. Well, I haven't practiced this Poe poem, but it's one of my favorites. Can I read a Poe poem?
Yes, yeah.
I wish I hadn't
Sure,
planned
go right ahead.
hadn't planned to do this, but
Perfect for Halloween.
it just like
Go ahead.
it's the best jewel in the world is to read this stuff, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is by Poe, Dreamland. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an Eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have reached these lands but newly from an ultimate dim Thule, from a wild, weird clime that lieth sublime out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods and chasms and caves and titan woods, with forms that no man can discover for the dews that drip all over, mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shore, seas that restlessly aspire, surging unto skies of fire, lakes that endlessly outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their still waters still and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily, by the lakes that thus outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their sad waters, sad and chilly, by the snows of the lolling lily, by the mountains near the river, murmuring lowly, murmuring ever, by the gray woods, by the swamp where the toad and the newt encamp, by the dismal tarns and ghouls where dwell, by the dismal tarns and pools where dwell the ghouls, by each spot the most unholy, in each nook most melancholy, where the traveler meets, aghast, sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass the wanderer by, white-robed forms of friends long given in agony to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region. For the spirit that walks in shadow, 'tis an El Dorado. But the traveler traveling through it may not, dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid. And thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an Eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have wandered home but newly from this ultimate dim Thule.
Wow. Just how long did it take you to write
Yeah.
that?
Oh, I did. This is Poe.
This was Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh yeah, God knows. I wish I could write like that.
The only one I know of by Poe is Quoth the Raven Nevermore.
Oh yeah, God.
Gosh, yeah. Oh, you were fascinated by that too.
So many people have called that the most perfect poem that was ever written, The Raven.
The Raven. Isn't there a
Oh.
book out now? Some mystery. I don't know. Something about that. Do you ever read mysteries? Like suspenses?
Sometimes, yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely.
Well, you know, a lot of people know Poe for his stories, but
Mm.
he's written so many wonderful poems.
Carol, how long
You
have you
know.
been writing poetry?
Oh, since I was in since I was in high school, but I really started writing seriously about the age of 30.
Yeah. So you'd been
Yeah.
through college,
Yeah,
hadn't even thought of doing it,
right.
no? But just
No.
suddenly, I want to do this.
Well, I was going through a lot of soul searching in reference to my career, and I had to somehow pour it out, and that's when I started writing. A lot of poets get started, I think, through personal turmoil. They have to write it down, you know, but then you hopefully evolve beyond that, and
Yeah.
because most of the poems I write now are very uplifting.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I know that
poems.
somebody had went through a broken heart, and his poems are all seem to be right then all about that.
Yeah.
And they flow, but you can tell he's hurting.
Yeah,
Right
well, and
through
that that has value because it's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
But I try to write things that are inspiring to people, that uplift them beyond the pragmatic concerns of daily life. You know, beyond the stress of daily life, to see a broader horizon, to see the magic in life again.
Sure.
Um,
Is there a special time during the day that this you're really strong on it? Are
Um,
you a night owl or morning?
well, I'm afraid to start it at 9 o'clock at night because I'll be up until 2 in the morning.
I know.
So-
That's what I am too.
It has to, the thing has to kind of hit me at another time
Yeah.
when I can actually do it.
Yeah, definitely. Are you giving presentations in your area, West Brookfield, or coming more out this way?
Gary and I are talking about doing a joint presentation again. We've done them in the past.
Yeah,
And to
you
do
did them here in Upton. I remember that.
Yeah, do them again with uplifting poems and songs.
Yeah.
But
I think
the-
it'd be great. Have you at both places? I can see libraries, senior centers, UMass Memorial Medical Center in Worcester. I was just telling our first guest, I went in one day and I didn't know, I heard something in the big beautiful lobby over in the corner. Some patients, some gentlemen who had instruments, with the doctor who was leading it, were playing songs. And everybody's faces lit up, people coming in. I can just see, that's how things that people never think of. Even Milford Hospital up the street, they have a beautiful lobby. As soon as someone comes in, they hear the poems, they hear Gary's music.
I know it would be very, very soothing because many,
Yeah.
many of the poems and a lot of his music is very soothing.
Then you got Springfield
And,
Hospital not far from you. Is it still Springfield Hospital?
There's one in Bay State is in
Oh,
Springfield.
yeah. And then I think Springfield was an ancient dinosaur when I was a little girl and was in there. Wesson Memorial has become Bay State. It used to be Wesson when I was growing up. It's Bay State. You've got a couple out that way, definitely. A lot of senior centers, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of places like that, and libraries. I think that's a great idea, the two of you together.
Well, you bring me to the next thing that I'm involved with, because I've gotten so discouraged over the years by the lack of interest in poetry, and so many people have told me, oh, I don't like poetry, or I don't understand poetry, and it's very discouraging because to me it's so beautiful, and they're missing out.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I want to share it with people, so I've decided directly to go around doing poetry appreciation classes.
Workshops. I was just going to, that's great.
You
That's
know,
what we need,
just
yeah.
a session or two, maybe in the library or in the senior center, maybe
Yeah.
in the schools, just to try to light a fire with people because they don't understand it.
No. That would be great. Workshop. We need you up this way. We really do. There's so many places to have workshops. That's a great idea. And I can see at the senior centers too, and even in the senior living, gives them something different to try. They
Mhm.
start simple, right? For anybody, any age, start simple, and then Carol can walk you through it. And
Because
express themselves.
it just boggles my mind when people say, "Oh, you know, I don't understand poetry," or I mean, a lot of poetry is poorly written, that's for sure, especially a lot of modern poetry,
Sure.
and maybe they just get discouraged. But when people say, "Oh, you know, I don't like it," or I don't understand it," or you know, I think, why? You know.
I know. Some poetry as I was growing up was kind of complicated, but I loved the kind that, well, you take Edgar Allan Poe and take your beautiful poetry. They're easy to understand. They get right to the point. The language is perfect, is beautiful, but they get to the point. They're not leaving you thinking, what the heck does she mean? I know what you mean. Just like, let's say, Poe or any, some of the more famous art, I know what they're talking about. There's no wondering. Maybe some people just get mixed up with some of the kind. I've seen it that's just out there. It's so far out there. I'm thinking, what did I just read?
Well, and that's a problem, especially with the modern poets, because many of them are coming from a place of hurting, and as I say, they don't really get beyond that.
Yeah.
And they're writing down, they're pouring out their heart, they're using a lot of profane language, and it's all, they explain things that they understand, but nobody else understands.
They got it,
The
but
way-
you don't. Yeah. And the one people, they want to reach their audience, but they're forgetting maybe your audience isn't going to grasp it.
Right, because it's so
Overdone.
personal to that person.
Exactly.
You know. And I think some of them try to make it sound complicated.
Yeah, and they overdo it. All right, they're all beautiful, but this is my favorite. Now this one, what is the fuzziness on this now, on the side?
That's it. That's trim. That's just fabric trim.
Oh, that makes it so apropos. And this was this fabric you chose?
Yeah, that's fabric.
And the bat, she has the bat in the middle. See, that just completely finished it. You've got the spooky little trim on the side there. That is really, really beautiful. Now on the back, she continued with the orange material. Do you just sit there with things and create as you go, or do you have it in your mind? I just create as I go. Do you have it in your
Well,
mind?
I get something in my mind, but it usually doesn't work. So it's trial and error.
Read one out of this one. I talked with Carol Mays. She's a poet advocate, and she's also an artist. She's designing her books. So she's going to read to us another one of her poems.
Another one of mine. All right,
Yeah.
let me find. These are all the same book, by the way. It's
all the same book. Okay.
Let me see.
But they're all different covers.
All different covers.
All different colors.
See if I can find
You're
some.
inspiring me to start doing journals again, doing the funky covers and everything. Those are really cool. Do you do journals? Have you blank journals for people?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. This is the Wheel in September. This is another seasonal one.
Okay.
I've startled a frog who leaps and flashes. He and a grasshopper zigzag away. The lawn whispers mildly in tune with the sun, yet something's amiss. The air is unsettled. Squirrels and I stash away seeds, salvaged from spent, rain-ravaged beds. Bees are now torpid and cling to the mums. Bedraggled zinnias give up the ghost. What becomes of the grim reaper's harvest, of creatures who cannot withstand the strain? The mystery hides in an infinite point, the one in the center of the great hub, the crux of a myriad transformations.
See? It's simple. You can understand it. And I didn't know that. They're all the same contents with the books, but they're all different different color things for Halloween. Don't tell me, are you already doing Christmas ones?
No.
Thanksgiving? No?
In fact, I've kind of given up on doing these fabric covered ones because they're just so expensive to make.
No.
They're so expensive.
No, please don't.
And they're so time consuming.
Oh no! Believe me, a lot of us girls love these. If Carol, somebody, if they want to reach you regarding your poetry and your books, also Would you welcome them to reach you if they would like you to come up and do a workshop?
Yes, very much
How
so.
will they reach
very
you?
much so.
Tell
yeah.
them know.
Well, my website, irisspring@hughes.net. It's Iris, IRISSPRING at Hughes, HUGHES.net. And what else was I just going to say?
If you want to give a workshop,
Oh, well, people can also go to my website.
okay, and that is
celestialdreams.net.
celestialdreams.net.
Right, and they can find any of these, not these ornamental ones, but they can find the paperbacks
Right.
and my DVD. They can find
Your
on
regular paperbacks.
Amazon.
How far will you
Right.
travel, Carol? Would you come up here if somebody
Oh,
had to
sure,
reach you?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, within I live in like at a midpoint location between Springfield,
Yeah. And Worcester.
Amherst, and Worcester.
Yeah.
So any of those towns would be fine, or a little beyond, you know.
We certainly have a
Um,
lot of senior living. Libraries. I mean, libraries, bookstores. We've got one right up the street. You could give your own. Both you and Gary could appear there. They have a Tatnut bookseller. They have a huge room for presentations. I've sent many people over there. They love to have people come.
Yeah, we should go there sometime. You've mentioned that to us before. We need to
Yes.
go there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think they'd love to
Mhm.
have both of you there. Yeah. Don't pass on that one. They're very good. And they're like 8 minutes up the road, so it's not that long a trip.
Oh,
Now, all right.
okay.
Last but not least, this is another one, and this is a witch. Are those tree branches or something? What are those?
Those are shingles, torn up
Shingles?
shingles from a house. The roofing.
Did you tear
shingles.
up Gary's house? What did you do?
My brother's been working with that, and he gave me some of these, and I just sliced them up more thin than they were.
And you just thought it up to make it on this.
Yeah, well, you know, these sort of things just happen because they kind of you kind of have this here and that there and this there, and it just kind of falls into place, you know.
Now, that's fabric. It almost looks like the bark of a tree. That's
Right.
fabric, though.
Yeah, but you have to search forever to find the sort of fabric you want, and I was happy to find this one.
Where do you go? Do you go to Joann's?
Joann's.com
Yeah.
and syfabrics.com,
Okay.
fabric.com. You know, a lot of websites you can go to.
And these adorable wooden that you just glue it. It's amazing what you can create with the simplest of things. And then inside, read us again. Carol's going to read us another one of the poems. It's the same in contents in all of the books, but she just designed different covers. Are they all the same in this one too? The one that is online? Are they all the same as those
It's
two?
all the same book, yeah.
Clever girl.
Um,
all right.
These I have to send away to have made into hardcover first. These
Yeah.
are actually hardcover books
Sure.
that
You can get those.
64.
I have a friend who does pressed flowers. She goes to the dollar store. She gets the hard-covered black books and uses those
Mm-hmm.
for journals for people. I thought, well, pretty nifty. I wouldn't know where she would have gotten them if she hadn't have told me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
less expensive if you're going to do a journal without your own work in there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's much less expensive than having somebody make your
Yeah.
book into a hardcover.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Is that called? What's
This-
what's the title of that one?
a toast.
Oh, I thought it said tarot, like tarot cards. Okay. I love tarot cards. Okay.
A toast. This is in the chapter. By the way, this is in Magical Poems. There's various chapters. This is and it has a little witch's hat embellishing the chapter title.
Did you draw that?
No,
No, okay.
that's a stamp, rubber art
Okay.
stamp. But this is in that chapter. A toast to butterflies, bats, and midnight creatures, to the brilliant, the dark, and things unseen, to roses, wine, and satin dresses, to a lucid, childlike dream, to the musty scent of ancient places, to thoughts distilled on a fragile page, to open-ended expectations and eccentricities of a secret sage, to the promise that lies in what is unfinished, to the charm in the rawness of the fray, to quests that lead to curious changes and rest that unbinds peace and play. You want to hear this one is my poor attempt to express the same thoughts that Poe was
Sure, we got a couple minutes
expressing.
left. Go for it.
Oh, okay.
Sure, yeah.
To a raven, Fearless raven soaring in the rich dark chasm, that world of shadows, echoes, cliffs and crags chaotic, the void of subtle stirrings in a quintessential midnight. Make some room for me on your old straight wings. I too need to sense lightning piercing stardust, galvanizing mountains, stoking distant thunder. Let me catch a breath of your pure primeval air, exotic and unshackling, latent, raw, unbounded. So I'm trying to
You're getting it. When did you write these all in one particular year, or was it just all?
No, I've written these over maybe 30 years.
What were you, a baby when you started? I'm just supposed to be writing for 30 years. My gosh, you must have at home. So you have your own studio, and Gary has his own studio.
It's kind of a suite with different rooms.
That's awesome. So I love this idea that you're going to be bringing the idea of poetry back and having beginners kind of try their hand at it, whatever the age. Maybe at libraries, senior centers, maybe senior living centers. You name it. I think this is great. Carol, before we close, one more time, how can they reach you? Not only just to get your wonderful books, but also if they'd like to have you come on board.
My email address is irisspring@hughes.net.
Hughes, Huges, yeah.
And my website is celestialdreams.net.
And so you're willing to, have you gotten the word out yet about perhaps doing the workshops? Have you got the word out?
I just came up with this idea 2 nights ago.
Well, it's now running all over this country and in Europe because you're on YouTube, you're everywhere. If you get some flyers, if you make some flyers up, mail them to me. And I travel all over this part of New England. I will get them up for you.
Lovely. Thank you.
To let people know. If you've got your business card with you or anything like that, leave it right up on the bulletin boards downstairs. That's another way good people can reach you. We got to get her launched. This is going to be exciting. I want to come to one of her classes. But if you come up here, you better have me on board too. All right? We've got a deal here. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for being on. We're going to have Gary
Thank
on,
you.
her husband, next. See you next time. I'll be my guest.
Bye.